Running into trouble far away from home is a frightening prospect. Away from the familiar, comfortable surroundings of our day-to-day lives, even something as simple as changing a tire can seem intimidating. And yet we are also constantly reminded that the vast majority of incidents and accidents are far more likely to occur in our home or very close to it. Such was the case for an Ohio school teacher who left her home one morning to catch a bus and within 4 blocks of her doorstep vanished without a trace. 78 years on, people still wonder what happened to Lola Celli. Those who knew her would be quick to assert that Lola Celli was the last person they would have expected to find at the center of a mystery. She was usually reliable and punctual, almost to a fault, and she would usually report any changes in her plans almost immediately. On Saturday, February 23, 1946, Lola Celli left her parents' home and told them she would return at about 2 p.m. Therefore, when the sun began to set over Columbus and Lola had still not returned, both her family and friends instinctively knew that something was terribly wrong.
Lola Celli was born in Italy in 1922, the second of 3 children born to Michael Celli and his wife Ida. Her family emigrated to America in 1930 and later took up residence near Columbus, Ohio. Michael Celli found work as a machinist and would eventually earn enough to put all 3 of his children through college. He was also very active within the Italian-American community and their many organizations. Daughter Lola was an above-average student with a love of the arts, Romance languages, and music. By age 18, she could already speak 5 languages fluently and dreamed of one day getting a job as an interpreter for Pan American Airlines. In 1945, Lola graduated with honors from Ohio State University with a degree in Romance languages. In September of that same year, she took a job teaching both biology and home economics at a high school in West Mansfield, Ohio, about an hour away by train from her home outside of Columbus. By most accounts, Lola did well in both her job and her ongoing studies. Some, however, did note that she always seemed to feel she was not living up to expectations as an educator, a sentiment not shared by her peers or superiors. During the school week, Lola lived with the family of friend and fellow teacher Pauline Lieberger in West Mansfield. On the weekends, she almost always returned to her parents' home in Grandview Heights, Ohio, a somewhat upscale bedroom suburb of Columbus. Lola was close to her family and always looked forward to these weekend homecomings. Her long-term plans were to continue her education and complete graduate school sometime in the near future. Aside from some apparent angst over her teaching duties, all seemed well with Lola as the 3-day weekend in honor of George Washington's birthday approached. As was usually the case, Lola made plans to travel from West Mansfield to Grandview Heights by train, something she had done on numerous occasions previously. Nothing whatsoever seemed out of the ordinary, making Lola's subsequent disappearance all the more perplexing. 78 years on, authorities and armchair sleuths alike have continued to pore over the details of the hours and days leading up to Lola's disappearance. For Lola Celli, this ominous clock began its countdown on the afternoon of Thursday, February 21st, 1946. That day, students were dismissed from West Mansfield High School at 4:30 p.m. Lola left not long thereafter and arrived at the Lieberger's home at approximately 4:50 p.m. The train for Columbus was originally scheduled to leave West Mansfield at 5:30 p.m. However, its arrival was delayed 2 hours on account of an accident in Michigan. Lola waited. Pauline Lieberger later recalled that Lola was upset by the delay as she wanted to get home to her parents as soon as possible. Finally, at approximately 7:10 p.m., Lola's train arrived in West Mansfield. It departed around 8 p.m. and arrived in Grandview Heights at approximately 9:15 p.m. Lola spent all day of Friday, February 22nd, at home with her mother, and nothing aside from mundane activities were reported to have taken place. The next morning, Saturday, February 23rd, 1946, Lola got up at around 8:30 a.m. and ate breakfast with her father, mother, older brother Felice, and younger sister Elda. At some point before 10:25 a.m., Felice left the residence and caught a bus headed north. Lola had previously advised her parents that she planned to take a bus into downtown Columbus to open a charge account at Robert's department store and purchase a set of nylon stockings. At 10:25 a.m., Lola's mother recalled hearing her daughter call to her and state, "I'm going now. Goodbye." Approximately a minute later, Lola's friend and neighbor, Harry Lane, observed her leave her home and begin walking west along West 3rd Street. Harry assumed that Lola was headed to the bus stop for the Arlington line, located at the intersection of West 3rd and Cambridge Boulevard. Harry himself was preparing to leave to catch the same bus. Less than a minute after spying Lola, he exited his home and thought he observed Lola, now about a block to the west, walking towards the bus stop at Cambridge. By all accounts, this was the last confirmed sighting of Lola Celli. The time was approximately 10:27 a.m. Although Harry planned to board the same bus as Lola, he opted to take a different route and board at another stop, one located at Westwood and West 1st Avenue. Harry walked the 3 blocks and arrived at the bus stop at about 10:32 a.m. According to the bus driver, he stopped at the corner of West 3rd and Cambridge at approximately 10:38 a.m., about 11 minutes after Harry Lane had last seen Lola walking west. A little over 3 minutes later, the same bus stopped at West 1st and Westwood. Harry Lane boarded the Arlington bus, but Lola was nowhere to be seen. Later, the bus driver advised that he was certain that Lola had not boarded the bus at West 3rd and Cambridge. Sometime between 10:27 and 10:38 a.m., something happened to Lola Celli. By 6 p.m. that evening, her family were becoming concerned. They began making calls to family, friends, and neighbors, while Lola's brother, Felice, went down to the Cambridge Boulevard bus stop to check the buses as they returned from Columbus. The last bus of the day came and went with no sign of Lola. Her parents immediately contacted the Grandview Heights Police Department. Lola Celli was now officially a missing person. Just how had a competent, reliable 24-year-old educator vanished within a time span of 11 minutes, a distance of just over 3 blocks, and in broad daylight? Other than Harry Lane, no one came forward who recalled having seen Lola at the Cambridge Boulevard bus stop or anywhere else between there and her home. On Sunday, February 24th, members of the Grandview Heights Police Department, led by Chief Robert Livingston, began a systematic search of the immediate area and surrounding neighborhoods. The sum total of Sunday's extensive searches was nil. The following day, Monday, February 25th, the first brief account of Lola's mysterious disappearance appeared in the Columbus Evening Dispatch. Lola Celli's case had now officially entered the headlines, a position it has occupied off and on ever since. From the outset, hard clues were scarce and physical evidence non-existent. Things which were not in short supply were speculation, false sightings, rumors, and fear. With no physical evidence to work with, authorities concentrated their efforts on learning as much as they could about the present status of Lola's life. An early theory, one originally trumpeted by Chief Livingston, was that Lola may have suffered a sudden bout of amnesia brought on by stress and exhaustion. Calls to colleagues, students, and the Liebergers seemed to confirm that Lola had been quite nervous of late and also had reported suffering from severe headaches. Pauline Lieberger's mother advised that Lola had even begun taking medicine to calm her nerves, something quite out of character. A general consensus was that Lola's worries stemmed from a belief on her part that she was not handling her teaching duties well. While acknowledging that Lola appeared nervous, Superintendent S.Z. Migret could only state that he had found Lola's work highly satisfactory, and any problems she had encountered were of a routine nature. According to Migret, the only one critical of Lola's work was Lola herself. Both Lola's family as well as the Liebergers confirmed that she had no known social life outside of school activities. She never dated and neither drank nor smoked. By all accounts, Lola had no known enemies. The only known acquaintance of Lola's was Dr. Anthony Melfi, who, strangely enough, had died in hospital on Sunday, February 24th. Melfi had been a friend of Lola's at Ohio State, and Pauline Lieberger recalled Lola having spoken about attending some campus functions with him. Lola had been made aware of Dr. Melfi's ill health. She had made tentative plans to visit him in Grant Hospital sometime before her return to West Mansfield. Officials at Grant Hospital later advised that no one matching Lola's description ever visited Dr. Melfi before he passed away. With little progress made locally, Chief Livingston contacted the Ohio State Highway Patrol along with sheriff's departments and municipal police agencies throughout Ohio for help. On Tuesday, February 26th, a missing persons report was transmitted by wire to at least 8 other states. Syndicated newspaper and radio spots soon turned Lola's disappearance into a national and, in some cases, an international alert. Public concern soon grew so great that Chief Livingston had to quell some passions when reports that Lola's body had been found surfaced. Quote, "There's absolutely nothing to those reports. People should not call unless they have information which might help in the investigation," end quote. Chief Robert Livingston, Friday, March 1st, 1946. Locally, the Grandview Heights Police continued their search, turning their attention to nearby rock quarries and the banks of the Scioto River. The first lead with any real potential came on Tuesday, February 26th, when a single red shoe was found by searchers along the banks of the Scioto River. Not long thereafter, a witness on nearby Olentangy River Road reported having seen a couple arguing in a red Dodge coupe. The right side window of the car was subsequently broken out as the man observed the female occupant kick her feet right through it, reportedly losing a red shoe in the process. The witness remembered that the license plate of the red coupe had 4 numbers and then ended in the letter E. This sighting occurred on the afternoon of Saturday, February 23rd. Later, an attendant at the Chaseland filling station in Sharon Heights reported having seen a man and woman in a red Dodge, which the attendant described as being a 1937 model or newer. The right side window of this car was also broken out. At one point, the attendant thought he heard the male driver instruct his female passenger to keep quiet. $2 worth of gas was purchased. The man paid with a $5 bill, but drove away without collecting his change. Police began an active and exhaustive drive to identify the car and its occupants. This included a personal appeal to the couple from Chief Livingston. The persons in the car may have been in a marital argument, or they may have been persons who do not want their presence in the car publicized. If they will contact us and are not connected with the disappearance, I can promise either or both that their names will be kept secret and their information held in confidence. Chief Robert Livingston, Saturday, March 2nd, 1946. Despite the intensive investigation, neither the couple nor the red Dodge Coupe were ever located. Sadly, no shoe was ever found in or around Olentangy River Road, and the one shoe found near the Scioto River was ruled out as not having belonged to Lola Celli. The same was later said of 2 handkerchiefs found during the same search. The early misdirection, focusing on a red shoe or shoes, would unfortunately lead to Lola's disappearance, later being dubbed the Red Shoe Mystery and other similar monikers. Lola Celli had been wearing red suede shoes on the day she vanished. However, neither of them has ever been located, and there is no indication that they played any significant role in her disappearance other than as an identifying article of clothing. With no suspects or even any real sign of foul play, investigators soon refocused their attention on Lola's actions on the morning of her disappearance. In 1946, Lola Celli's parents occupied this 2-story residence in the 800 block of West 3rd Street. Today, the neighborhood has changed very little, and Lola's former residence is still standing and occupied. As such, MysteriousWV has promised the current occupants that we will not show the present facade of their home in its entirety, as its physical appearance is not central to Lola's case. This is how the residence appeared in 1946. The late morning of Saturday, February 23rd, was clear but chilly. Lola's mother, Ida, recalled that when she left to catch the bus, she was attired in an aqua-colored dress with light red stripes, a gray Indian lamb fur coat with matching hat, and red suede slip-on type shoes with Cuban heels. From Lola's front stoop to the bus stop at West 3rd in Cambridge is a direct walk of just over 3½ blocks. The bus stop, presumed to have been Lola's destination, was located here, a location which is technically situated in neighboring Marble Cliff Township. According to Harry Lane, whose home was located here, he observed Lola exit her home and begin walking in this direction at approximately 10:26 a.m. Lane's home at 1802 West 3rd Avenue is situated about 100 feet away from Lola's home at the intersection of West 3rd and Glen Avenue. About a minute later, at 10:27 a.m., Lane left his home and observed Lola walking westward in this general area between Glen Avenue and Guyandotte Road. As nothing appeared out of the ordinary, Harry turned left and proceeded in the opposite direction along West 3rd. At this point, Harry stopped and turned right onto Westwood Avenue, which led south to the intersection where he intended to catch the same bus as Lola. The bus Lola intended to board arrived at the intersection of West 3rd and Cambridge on time at approximately 10:38 a.m. The driver is confident that Lola did not board his bus at this time or at any subsequent stops. Whatever happened to Lola Celli happened between here, and at some time between approximately 10:27 and 10:38 a.m. 3 suburban blocks in a span of 11 minutes, and yet no one, neither residents nor passers-by, recall having seen anyone matching Lola's description along this stretch of road during that time. As in any missing persons case, timing and location are essential factors. Assuming that Lola left her parents' home as described and began walking west, how long would it have taken her to cover the distance to the bus stop? We decided to try it for ourselves. At around 10 a.m. on the morning of May 19, 2024, we began walking from a point directly in front of Lola's former residence and headed due west along West 3rd Avenue. With camera rolling, we kept as steady a pace as possible and stopped briefly at each intersection to look both right and left. We opted to cross to the northern side of West 3rd Avenue perhaps later than Lola would have, although this was done simply to cross at a time and place where traffic was lighter. When we reached the former location of the Arlington bus stop, just under 6 minutes had elapsed. This would have had Lola arriving at the stop no later than 10:32 or 10:33 a.m. We later repeated the same experiment for the route taken by Harry Lane. The end results were nearly identical, as it took us between 5 and 6 minutes to walk from Harry's home to the bus stop at the intersection of Westwood and First Avenue. Harry Lane, therefore, would have arrived at his stop no later than 10:32 or 10:33 a.m. Curiously, although these experiments were conducted on a Sunday rather than a Saturday morning, the amount of both foot traffic and vehicular traffic along Lola's presumed route was significant. As the neighborhood has changed so little since 1946, it seems at least fair to conclude that conditions would have been similar on the morning of Lola's disappearance, thus making the lack of any witnesses to Lola's westward trek all the more curious. This begs the question even louder. Just what happened between Lola's residence and the bus stop? What, as yet unexplained events unfolded between 10:26 and 10:38 a.m.? In the weeks, months, and even years which followed, attention focused primarily on the 3 most likely scenarios. 1. Lola was abducted at some point along her route and later murdered. 2. Lola suffered a nervous episode of some kind and wandered out of the area suffering from amnesia. 3. Lola had planned her own disappearance and left of her own accord, perhaps an elopement or perhaps on her own. From the outset, Lola's family believed that she had been a victim of foul play. They added that given Lola's intelligence and cautious, conservative nature, it is probable that she knew or had known those responsible. To wit, if Lola had accepted a ride during her walk, it would only have been either at gunpoint or because she knew the driver and or passengers. If she had been sidetracked into conversation and then blindsided, it would only have been because she knew or implicitly trusted the person speaking to her or was threatened in some way. This scenario, however unpleasant, has never been conclusively ruled out. However, the absence of a body or any evidence, oral or visual, of abduction has led many to discount this theory as unlikely. Primarily because of the information they received from Lola's friends and co-workers, authorities initially believed that Lola may have succumbed to her nerves and fatigue, which may in turn have led to amnesia. In such a state, they conjectured, Lola could conceivably have then gone anywhere with anyone. Eventually, however, the lack of witnesses and the deluge of public exposure in the media led authorities to largely discount this theory. After all, if Lola had suffered a nervous collapse or entered a mental fugue of some kind, then it seems unlikely that she would have left no trace whatsoever of her subsequent movements or collapse. Given MysteriousWV's most recent experience with missing persons, the third scenario would, at least in terms of playing the odds, seem the most plausible. While it is certainly possible to be kidnapped and hidden away, or to suffer a mental collapse and walk into a river, a very easy way to up and vanish without a trace and remain hidden in perpetuity is to do it yourself. Could Lola have, for whatever reason, chose to drop from sight and begin life anew? Her friends and family did not believe so. They pointed to Lola's limited social life and regimented schedule, living with the Liebargers during the work week and returning to Grandview Heights on the weekends. In addition to this, Lola had not taken any of her clothing or other personal belongings from her room at the Liebarger residence. Lola had also begun making plans to return to Ohio State and pursue her graduate's degree. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, her savings account had not been touched. Lola's family found these actions, or lack thereof, wholly inconsistent with someone so effectively planning to abruptly drop from sight. However, it must be stated at this point that absolutely no evidence conclusively supporting or refuting any of the previous theories has ever been found. For all intents and purposes, Lola Celli simply walked off the face of the earth. By March 6th, authorities were forced to admit that they had reached a standstill. Rumors and leads would continue to trickle in, though none of them led to anything except more dead ends. Gradually, news of Lola's disappearance moved from the headlines to the agate type, before eventually drying up altogether. Lola's father, Michael, passed away in 1958, her mother, Ida, in 1985. Lola's older brother and younger sister continued to keep their eyes and ears open until their respective deaths. Despite rumors in the mid-50s that her case had been closed, the disappearance of Lola Celli remains open and active to this day.
Clearly, people do not vanish into thin air, so the fact that something unforeseen happened to Lola the day she disappeared is a foregone conclusion. But just what happened? Was she abducted and later murdered, or did she leave of her own accord? And this begs two additional questions. If indeed Lola was murdered or died accidentally, what became of her body? And if she did indeed choose to leave of her own volition, just where did she go? And why?
Lola Celli disappeared from Grandview Heights, Ohio, in the late morning of Saturday, February 23, 1946. She was last seen at approximately 10:27 a.m., walking west along West 3rd Avenue. Her assumed destination was a bus stop along the Arlington bus line located at the intersection of West 3rd Avenue and Cambridge. The next bus was scheduled to arrive there at 10:38 a.m. The bus driver later stated that Lola most certainly did not board his bus at this or any other location that morning. Other bus drivers in and around Columbus were questioned, and none recalled having seen Lola that morning. Before leaving her residence, Lola advised her mother that she planned to take the bus into downtown Columbus, where she intended to visit Robert's department store, then located at the intersection of Gay and High Streets. She said she intended to open an account at the store and purchase a pair of nylon stockings. A check of records and sales receipts showed that Lola neither opened an account nor made any purchases that day. Authorities are confident that Lola never reached Robert's store. When she was last seen, Lola was attired in an aqua-colored dress with light red stripes, a gray Indian lamb fur coat with matching hat, and distinctive red suede slip-on type shoes with Cuban heels. She was last seen in this general area, just over 1 block west of her residence. The bus stop to which she was presumably headed is located here, just over 2.5 blocks further west. At the time of her disappearance, Lola was 24 years old. She was 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed approximately 115 pounds. She had dark brown hair and gray eyes. During the school week, she worked as a teacher at the West Mansfield High School, just over 60 miles away. She usually returned to her home in Grandview Heights for weekends. Lola was a college graduate with a degree in Romance languages. She was described as being very intelligent and quite eloquent, with a near erudite personality. Lola was fluent in English, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and French, and may have sought employment as an interpreter. If you have any information concerning the disappearance of Lola Celli, please contact the Grandview Heights, Ohio Police Department at 614-488-3157.